Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this installment of a Trading App Store Showcase series featuring Chris Cheatham. My name is Frederick Palmliden. I work as a quantitative analyst for TradeStation Labs, and I will be your host this afternoon. Now, before I introduce our guest, please keep in mind that this presentation is for demonstration and educational purposes only. Active trading is not suitable for everyone, and always consider the different risks associated with any trade and trading style. Now please read the important disclosures document in the Documents folder or on the TradeStation website, and I'm also going to push a link to this document into the general chat window. Here it is. Now if you have trouble viewing this presentation, please try to refresh your connection by using the blue X on the top right corner of your window. Also, this presentation will be recorded and an archived version will be made available on the TradeStation website. Now today's guest is Chris Cheatham, who won the 2013 TradeStation TradingApp Store Contest. For this event, Chris will present his Inside Bars version 11 product designed for overflow, market profile, and volume profile analysis. So now I'm going to mute my mic and I'll pass the floor over to Chris Cheatham for today's presentation. Chris, it's all yours.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? Is the sound level about right? Okay, great. Thanks, Fred. Well, my name's Chris Cheatham, and today we're going to talk about order flow trading, and particularly what I've done with my Insider Bars product on the Trading App Store. Before we get started, let me just ask, what do you all know about order flow among our live audience here? You know, it's one of those things where, you know, some people know a lot, some people have heard of it but don't really know what's the whole magic about. So anybody want to just give me a little quick summary of where you are in the order flow learning arena? I see some people are typing, so I'm going to give you a second here. Great, great. Okay, well that's good, because we're gonna kind of go from the ground up here, because you know, if you've never done anything with order flow, you're going to be totally lost if I just jump in at the graduate school level. So I think you're going to see there's a lot for everyone here, but I'm going to try not to lose anyone along the way. So if I start talking about something that's foreign to you, don't understand, please stop me. We have a whole bunch to go over, so I'm gonna go fast, but please don't hesitate to stop if you get lost on something. So first off, let's talk about crowdsourcing. Did anyone here participate in the Insider Bars public beta? See, some did, some didn't. In total, there were 317 participants between 2011 and 2015, and many contributed to the final product. Another fun twist was that some of the big name players in the order flow world showed up when they saw the beta product on the Trading App Store, looking for help creating their own TradeStation products. And the great thing about all this is that Insider Bars is way, way better because of this. The stuff I learned from the beta participants and from the big name guys alike made it into the final product. I want to quickly go through my background so we're kind of on the same page. I've used TradeStation and Easy Language since 1993. Yes, I used to have a security block back in the day. And I've been a full-time futures trader since 2000. I have been a trading app store developer since 2011 and currently have about 800 subscriptions. I'm not a programmer by training. I'm an MBA school type. So yes, you can learn Easy Language if you don't have a degree in programming. My current trading for the last 10 plus years is 100% discretionary and based on geometry and volume/order flow. And if you've been on the TradeStation forum, you might recognize me as Solidus. Over the years, I have shared a lot of free indicators and tools on the TradeStation forum and on the Trading App Store. If you go to marketgtrading.com and click free stuff on the menu, you'll find links there for everything. My most popular free Trading App Store product is called Free Square, and it's from my 2011 Market Geometry webinar. If you haven't seen that 2011 webinar, here's a shortcut to get you to it on the TradeStation YouTube channel. It's tinyurl.com/freesquare, or you can search for my name on the TradeStation YouTube channel. You can also get actual Easy Language code from my 2011 Developers Challenge contest winners and a bunch of other stuff on the free stuff page on my website. Briefly, I want to run through my other products on the Trading App Store just so you can see the perspective from which I come. Most people think of me as the market geometry guy, and my product on the Trading App Store that's geometry is called G-Square Pro. And the picture I picked for you here today is actually the flash crash from back in August. And there's a lot of lines on the picture and it looks complicated, but it's actually very simple. This is all based on the range of the previous week. And I drew a little circle so you can see how the projected range from the past week pretty much tagged the low of the flash crash. And you know, what's actually cool about that is that it did this on every stock index except for the NASDAQ. So there's all kinds of fun geometry stuff you can explore. And if you want to check it out, G-Square Pro and all my premium products have free trials. So if you want to check this out too, you can find it on the Trading App Store. SPAD-AD is a market breadth program. And by market breadth, I mean advanced decline lines, up volume minus down volume lines, etc. The problem with advanced decline lines with TradeStation traditionally has been they're very difficult to use, and you have to add multiple data streams, and then you can't capture the intraday high-low close, open high-low close data unless you jump through a lot of hoops. And SPAD-AD deals with all those problems. It will either automatically choose your data for you, or you can choose the index or exchange you want to use, and it basically does all the hard work for you. The other thing, it includes this little, you can see down in the bottom of the left chart here, there's this little thing with colored bars, and basically what this does is it shows you the advanced decline position for the 5 top stock index markets in one shot. So you don't have to have 5 charts open to see which markets are leading and lagging. So anyway, check it out if you're interested. Solidus Time Sales Pro is what Fred Mitras was my winner in the TradeStation TradingApp Contest back in 2013, and it is a replacement basically for the TradeStation Time and Sales window that is optimized to work with high volume electronic markets. And you can see the display here and the input screen and default settings. In all my premium products, I have done custom input screens, so you don't have to remember and type little codes in the TradeStation inputs to make it do what you want. I'm a big fan of user-friendly, and so this is a good example of how it's very easy to use and save your default, so you don't have to remember what color you liked, etc. Finally, we get to insider bars, which is order flow and volume, and it is $19 a month currently. And you'll find that some of the competing products are, gosh, what, 10 times this. So it's quite an opportunity. What's included in insider bars? First off, the Time Sales Pro trading app. Yes, this is the one that was the prize winner in the trading app contest. It's a natural fit for order flow trading, so there was no question I was going to include it in the insider bars package. Price Fall Pro is an indicator that creates volume profiles. And the big kahuna is insider bars. Finally, there is a trading app that includes the help for all the products. Each of them has their own help you can access from the product, but there's also a standalone help trading app if you want to leave it open on your desktop to have for easy access. A free trial is available. To get a free trial, go to the product page, and here's a shortcut I made for you, tinyurl.com/insiderbars. Click on the free trial button, and you'll be prompted to sign the TradeStation agreements. You must have TradeStation 9.1, Update 29, or higher. On the platform, you will get a Trading App Store message saying that the product is downloading. Once this is done, you click on the Launch button, and the sample workspace will open. Along with the sample workspace, a software license agreement will open, and you'll need to read and accept that license agreement, and then you're off and running. Like I said, we're going to kind of start at the bottom and build this thing up so everybody will be kind of on the same page. And so I wanted to start with just kind of a quick history of order flow to show you how, kind of where we came from and how we got to where we are today. Order flow analysis means different things to different people, but there are some common ideas. Market profile and volume profile histogram analysis, and including volume weighted average price, point of control, value areas, etc. Analysis of trades occurring at the bid versus trades at the ask. The overall idea is to evaluate the state of the market auction process at a point in time. Are buyers or sellers more aggressive and controlling market activity? The beginning of all this was really market profile, created by Peter Stettlemyer and the Chicago Board of Trade back in the mid-1980s. And here's an early example of it on the right. It was an early approach to price distribution analysis. Back then, there was no live futures trade volume. So letters were used for 30-minute time periods to create a time-based profile. CME Group still owns Market Profile. CME Group bought the Chicago Board of Trade, for those who don't know. CME still owns Market Profile and requires per user licensing fees from vendors. The next step in the evolution was kind of the TradeStation Matrix class of tools. It was actually oriented toward electronic markets, unlike Market Profile. For the first time, you could actually see volume at price in real time rather than using the time by price shortcut in Market Profile. It also included market depth data typically and was mainly designed as an order entry tool. The problems with this were that there were limited analysis tools and it was separate from the chart, so you were constantly shifting your focus from the chart back to the matrix, etc. In the mid-2000s, several groups started doing at bid versus at ask analysis. Market delta is the most widely known, but there were others as well. And here's a sample of a early market delta chart I put on just to show you what it's all about. Basically what they're doing was they were looking at the volume at every price, but then they were breaking it down as to whether it was the trade was at the prevailing ask or at the prevailing bid at the time. So for instance, on the top row here, there were no trades at the bid in this bar, and there were 1461 at the ask. Here there were 1420 at the bid and 3033 at the ask. This analysis sought to find directional bias in the market based on whether buyers or sellers were trading more aggressively at a point in time. Meanwhile, at TradeStation, in 2011, I did Solidus Price Volume Histogram, which was one of my winners in the 2011 Developers Challenge. It put price by volume histogram analysis right on the chart to the right of the price bars. Also that year, the first Insider Bars beta was released, doing similar analysis on individual price bars. So let's get into the Insider Bars package. First up is Time Sales Pro, which is the same as the Solidus Time Sales Pro Trading App Store Contest winner. So what is time and sales? Time and sales is a text display of trades, the time traded, volume, whether the trade was at the bid or at the ask, etc. Time and sales was traditionally used by tape readers to see when large volume traders entered the market. And for those of us who used to trade in the old days when there were actual pits, what you most used it for was to see if your fill was real, because back in the day sometimes you would get a fill that was just way off base and you would have to call the exchange or call your broker and say, hey man, this is not right. And so they would look at the time and sales and say, yes, you're right, you got a bad fill, we're going to correct it. So those of us old timers remember time and sales well from those days. Time and sales was originally designed to display a few transactions a second. It now displays many pages of transactions every second. and transactions occur too frequently to monitor the raw data in real time. From the perspective of an order flow trader looking for large trader activity, it's even worse. Let's say you set your TradeStation time and sales to only show large trades. Bottom line, it doesn't work. Only rarely is a large trade reported. And this is an example I did a little while back comparing Time Sales Pro with the TradeStation time and sales window. And this is E-mini S&P futures contracts greater than 100. And you can see in this time period, which was a period of a couple of minutes, the TradeStation time and sales window showed one entry, and we have a whole page of entries using the Time Sales Pro methodology. So there's a lot of stuff that's being missed. The reason for this is that electronic futures exchanges only report a large trade when a large buy happens to be matched with a large sell. So we have a huge data management problem. Time Sales Pro addresses this. Again, it was the winner in the Trading App Store Contest, or one of the winners. Time Sales Pro replaces TradeStation's time and sales window, displaying high volume data in a usable format. There are several different display modes, from showing only implied big trades like you saw in the last slide to showing trades at bid and ask. There's a separate video on the Solidus Time Sales Pro product if you want some more information on this. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. We need to dig into the other stuff. Pricefall Pro is the next thing up. Pricefall Pro is a big update to the popular Developer Challenge contest winner Solidus Price Volume histogram. It has much better graphics, more analysis options, more time frames, and is much easier to use with user-friendly custom menus and input screens. And it's only available as part of the Insider Bars package. Here's a sample display from Pricefall Pro. It shows the new rectangles we now have available on TradeStation. If you look at the black price level shown on the price scale and the gray shading behind the volume histograms, these represent the volume weighted average price and the standard deviation. The one in the middle here is the volume weighted average price, and you have 1 and 2 standard deviations on both sides of that. Since I did the slideshow, it now includes real value area calculations as well. The red and the blue areas you see right here are market depth, and you can show as many levels of market depth as you choose. Here's another example. This one combines rectangles and text. It also shows the current bar display, showing upticks and downticks. This is the area right here. You know, sometimes you have your main profile over here, but you also want to keep track of what's going on with the current bar. So this is just an easy option if you want to take advantage of it, and you're not using the main insider bars. It's an easy option to keep track of what's going on right now. Also, you can see another example of the input screen here. So I mentioned value areas versus standard deviations, and there are a lot of different definitions of value areas floating around. I wanted to just take a minute to explain what I'm talking about here. In statistical theory, we learned that 1 and 2 standard deviations equate to 68% and 95% of the population data if the data is normally distributed. But market data, as we know, is rarely normal. PriceVol Pro and Insider Bar's value area calculations now show areas contained within user-chosen percentages of the actual volume traded for the session. And here's an example of this. The chart on the left shows the traditional volume-weighted average price here with 1 and 2 standard deviations above and below. And this is a British pound chart. As you can see here, the data doesn't really fit the standard deviations very well. The standard deviation doesn't address skewness. So you have the prices extending way below the 2 standard deviation line here, and you see the standard deviation extended way up here. On the right is the actual value areas based on 68% and 95%. And you can see that they actually fit the data. So both have their uses, and I still use standard deviations, but for some things, but it's just a new option you have to add to what you can do. One issue you run into in the kind of the practical reality of price by volume analysis is fitting the data legibly on the screen. Here's an example of SPY showing, one of the main ones, small tick size. I have on this picture, I have every price level of SPY showing a histogram and text. And as you can see, it's pretty darn useless. Sometimes you see this when the volatility turns up, when you get high volatility, or if you're looking at a longer term analysis, or sometimes you just want less noise, and this we'll see more in Insider Bars as well. With PriceVol Pro, you can combine ticks. So this is the same data period, but this is showing every price point as a separate entry, and this is showing 10 ticks per histogram bar and per text entry. It's a lot easier to read, huh? PriceVol Pro allows you to pick daily or weekly profiles or to choose your own custom period. For example, I like last week plus this week to match my weekly geometry patterns. And you can see here, this is actually the old version of it's been updated since this, but there's a custom box in the menu, and you can choose the dates you like. And just briefly on the geometry, this geometry, the red and the blue shading here represents last week's range, so you can see the histogram covers last week's range plus this week's range. And since I did this slideshow, I've actually improved this even more. What you can do now is you can click your mouse on the chart when you have it open to custom, and you can make a histogram of any length from a few minutes to a few to as long as you want. Okay, the big kahuna, Insider Bars. First, the basics. Insider Bars looks inside each price bar to see the volume traded at every price. The red VWAP line is the volume weighted average price for the current session. The blue POC is the point of control which is the price at which the most volume traded for the session. TradeStation also has available trade volume sorted as upticks versus downticks. The red left text here is downticks and the green right text is upticks. You can also see here the main input screen. Again, very user-friendly inputs. And you can save your personal favorite settings as default in all the products. Various paint bar options are available. Individual bar, volume weighted average price, point of control, and value areas are part of it. Also upticks versus downticks, volume gradient, and solid colors. And sometimes you want to outline the paint bar to make it easier to see with a lot of the busyness that comes with order flow analysis. Here's an example at the bottom showing an outlined paint bar. And I've included some high-low close plus and close plus styles that are unique to insider bars because they work better with the graphics. And we'll see some of those a little later on. The latest update adds candle chart paint bars also. And there are both traditional and modern styles. And the one on the right here is traditional style you'll all recognize. The left is what I call the modern style, which has all the bodies the same color and uses an expanded wick to show whether the bar is up or down. And sometimes you'll find when you're layering more things on top of the candle that the solid color wick makes it all a little bit easier to see. So you can choose whichever one you like will work, and just more options for you. The images here also show bar value areas, bar VWAPs, and points of control. The little gray vertical bars within the bars are bar value areas here. On the right chart, they're not outlined. On the left chart, they are. You can choose either way. These are set for 70% of the volume, but you can set them to whatever you want. So just to understand what that is, the value area highlights the area where 70% of the volume of that individual bar took place. And I made these too small, so forgive me, but the little yellow dots you see here are the volume weighted average price for the bar, and there are little white arrows as well, which are the point of control, or the most traded price, or the price at which the most volume traded for the bar. And you can, on the actual software, you can set these, make these any size you like. So what's the objective of all this stuff? To show at any point in time whether buyers or sellers are being more aggressive. Which side is saying, I want to trade now, versus I will trade if I get my price. Are sellers more willing to hit the bid, or buyers to take the ask? Insider bars allows you to peek inside the price bar to see the quality of buying or selling at a point in time. The ideal way to evaluate order flow is by monitoring where the trades are being executed at the bid or executed at the ask. These are difficult. There are difficulties with these approach, however, due to a lack of data history and data irregularities. Current insider bars uses upticks and downticks as a proxy for at bid and at ask. And I estimate that this is probably about 90% correlated to at bid, at ask, probably a little bit higher than that. Very soon I'm going to be doing an update that will include real at bid, at ask. So very soon you'll be able to compare them yourself and see which one you like better. Here's an example chart. This is a 3-minute ES S&P futures chart. At every price point there are colored rectangles, and the colors represent the bullishness or bearishness at that point on the bar. Bright blue is very bullish. Mid blue is less bullish. You also see bright red and mid red, so same idea applies, and there's also a neutral zone. The text shown here is net upticks minus downticks contracts traded at each price point. So for example, this point right here, plus 154, the upticks contracts minus the downticks contracts are 154. Virtually everything you see here can be customized. The colors, the text, the methodology for calculating the colors. You can set it however you like. Now, some of you who have worked with Easy Language and with TradeStation drawing objects are probably now saying, great, but what about those pesky platform drawing object limits? In recent versions of TradeStation, there are limits to how many drawing objects you can place on a chart. And if you go over this, the indicator either shuts down or gives you really annoying warning messages. Guess what? No limits. The only limit on insider bars is your available tick data. It manages drawing objects dynamically to avoid problems with the platform limits. Did anybody see the curveball in that last chart I showed you? Want to see it again? It used what I call uptick downtick mode. So what is this? Most price by volume analysis that you see compares upticks to downticks or trades at the bid and trades at the ask at the same price. But in real life, the market doesn't do that. It's really kind of a meaningless comparison. You can never have an uptick and a downtick at the same price within the same time frame. Uptick downtick mode pairs naturally occurring upticks and downticks, which gives a much more valuable analysis. And I made a little chart to try to explain this a little better for you. At 3 price bars here. The first one just shows the volume traded at every price on the bar. Bar B shows the traditional display with downticks or trades at bid on the left side and upticks or trades at ask on the right. And finally, C is uptick downtick mode, where the trades have been shifted so that the ones occurring at the same time are compared more readily. Here's a real chart comparison. Traditional way versus uptick downtick mode. In uptick downtick mode C, the upticks are shifted down a half tick and the downticks are shifted up in terms of display So they align in keeping with the analysis. Now that we have apples grouped with apples, there's a lot of options. Here I have shown displayed volume, the total volume for each uptick, downtick pair. And on the left, I have the percent of upticks versus downticks of this volume. And the scale here goes from plus 100, where all the ticks are upticks, to minus 100, where all the ticks are downticks. And I colored the positive ones blue and the negative ones red to make it easier to see for you here. So you can see at every point in time the balance between upticks and downticks, between buyers and aggressive buying and aggressive selling. Note that the total volume amounts here are not totals at each price. Remember, they're offset by a half tick, but totals for each uptick, downtick pair. Uptick, downtick mode also makes the chart much simpler to interpret. Instead of comparing two numbers diagonally, like you would have had to do with that market delta chart you saw in the beginning, you just have to look at the color of the shading. For text, you can choose total volume, up minus down volume, as you see here, or up minus down percentage, as you saw in the last chart with the candles, or no text at all. One of the practical problems you run into with order flow analysis is dealing with volatility. And you'll find, watching the YouTube videos of all the order flow guys, they usually use really micro small charts. And volatility is one of the reasons for that. Let's look at a Fed announcement from September, and you can see what happens when you're using one tick for every display point. It becomes very difficult to see. Imagine if you were trying to read numbers at every one of these prices. Combined ticks comes to the rescue. Here I have 4 ticks per price zone instead of 1 tick in the previous chart. Plus I'm showing the actual volume traded at every 4 tick point with volume zone coloring. The prices are in thousands, and the way volume zone coloring works is there are 3 zones. There's a low volume zone, a mid zone, and a high zone. And the yellow here are the high volume zones. The gray are the mid zones, and you see a handful of low zones as well. And this makes it easy to see at a glance where the volume is trading in a price bar. If you take away the text, it's actually a little easier to see how much the combining ticks can simplify what's going on in your analysis and let you see better what's going on these high volume situations. A lot less clutter. You know, there's still a lot of data on the screen though. What if you only want to see the highlights? Or what if you're like me, also using geometry, and you don't want the order flow stuff to take over your chart completely? The latest update allows you to show bullish, bearish price point extremes with markers rather than having to show every level as in the previous examples. In this chart, which is E-mini S&P futures, the green squares you see are are extreme bullish points, and the red ones are extreme bearish points. And you can customize the parameters for what to display. You can limit display of price points with low volume, so you don't want to display those, etc. And of course the colors and sizes. We're covering a lot of stuff here. Insider bars works better on some markets than on others. High volume futures with tight bid-ask spreads are the best. Here's a comparison of two stock indices to give you an idea of this. ES S&P futures and YM is Dow Jones futures. And if you're not a futures trader, ES is a very tight, solid, low volatility market, and YM is kind of goosey and jumps all over the place. You can see that ES price action is much cleaner than YM. Less blue mixed in the red in this area I highlighted, which is a downtrend. Here's another comparison, the same time period, but this time I'm comparing ES futures to SPY ETF, which are in a way they're the same thing. S&P 500 futures versus S&P 500 ETF. The first thing you notice is the SPY tick size is much smaller relative to value. Even taking this into account, though, there's obviously more noise in SPY than in ES. And one of the reasons for this is that with ES, all trades come from one electronic source, and this is not so with SPY. Here's another apples to apples comparison of ES and SPY. What I did here, I used combined ticks to put them on more of an even keel. This is 4 ticks per box for ES futures and 10 ticks for SPY. So the box size relative to the value is the same now. And you can see that ES is still more orderly. You still see more bluish bars in a downtrend in SPY. And what you'll find as you explore insider bars is that most stocks tend to act like SPY. And one of the benefits of combining ticks is that it lets you filter out some of the crazy from stocks and less liquid markets. And there are a variety. You don't have to use 10 ticks. There are a variety of options available for combining ticks to make it work as you want it to. Now, we had a lot to cover here, and we really have not talked a lot about interpretation. All bars are not created equally. You can have 2 bars which look identical on a typical chart, and yet their insides tell completely different stories. Let's say you have 2 ES bars, ES futures bars, and each have the same range and were net down 5 ticks. But one drifted lower on neutral volume while the other was heavily skewed to aggressive sellers. What does this mean? The bar with the aggressive sellers is far more likely to have follow-through than the more neutral one. And the same is true within a bar as well. When you get several consecutive price points with heavily bullish or bearish activity, the odds of follow-through are much better. You'll also find that these cluster points with consecutive bullish or bearish price points become support or resistance when the price retraces at a later point in time. There are many, many aspects to using insider bars, and over the next few months I'm going to be doing a lot of videos and blog posts to explain these one by one. If you have specific questions, please email me, and I will try to prioritize these in working on the videos. I actually have a YouTube channel now, which is brand new. Tiny URL, www.tinyurl.com/marketgyoutube should get you there. Hi, Donald. Unfortunately, the way TradeStation works right now, this only works with time-based bars, and actually only intraday bars. It is possible I have not done it for second-based bars yet, but that is within the range of possibility. I know, and this is something that I know TradeStation has in the works to enable millisecond timestamps, so you can do more things with non-traditional bars. But unfortunately, right now, that's not possible. Right, John. No, not on. It will work. I think it will work on tick bars, but it won't be correct. The problem is tick bars don't end on an even second. And the way timestamps are done in TradeStation now is it's a 1 second timestamp. So you basically the insider data is working on a 1 second timestamp regardless of what the bar does. So you can see this wouldn't work right. TW, let me give you the link, and then I'll. There you go. Mark, that is a number of people have asked about that, and that's something that's in the works. Drop me an email and let me, and so I don't lose track of how many people are interested in it, but that's something that that's going to be coming in the works to access the both the insider bars and the price vol pro data from other programs. Okay, let's move on. Some more stuff to look at. Support and resistance. You'll find that that support and resistance will fall often at the volume weighted average price, value areas, and the standard deviations. This chart shows a bond futures pit session, but what I did is I calculated all the statistics based on the full session, and that's an option in the latest version. You can use pit session for your chart, but calculate your data on the whole data stream. And you can see here early on here, the 70% value area was from the overnight session was resistance, and rallying back to the VWAP in the middle of the day, that's like classic. And so just keep your eye on this kind of stuff as you play with it. More stuff to look at here. This is about value areas. The little orange bars within each one are the value areas here. The orange outlined in black. And what I did, I put some arrows in here to highlight 3 different bars, which are kind of similar. They're all breaking down from support, but they're not the same. And I wanted to highlight what's different about them here. In the first one, you see the orange value area, pretty much is balanced within the bar, and then but you look at the other two, and they're not like that at all. The value is down in the bottom, so these are very different bars when you can look inside and see what's going on. And another little trick you'll find is that when you have a breakdown like this, you'll find that the retracements will go into the value area of the breakdown bar, and you see that here. It tried to rally back here, and the sellers that were creating this value area right here were selling again and keeping the guys here from getting past it. And the same thing down here. The volume that held it down here as well. So, and there wasn't a rally to speak of here. So just some more little things to keep an eye on. And I'm going to be doing a ton of stuff on stay tuned to the YouTube. I'm going to try to start doing these every day, and there's just a whole bunch of little things like this to, as you use it, you learn. Bar value areas are a really simple concept, but they're like X-ray vision to understanding things in the price behavior that you'll never see in a traditional candle or bar chart. Oh yeah, this is a fun one. One more thing here. After you've used insider bars a little bit, you'll see that normally at the tops, you see the top couple of price points, you'll see sellers, dominated by sellers. Bottoms will be buyers, but every now and then the opposite happens. And this was a good little example I found, and these are the same data. One shows the volume, and then one shows just the simple markers, so you can see how they both kind of do the same thing. But the ones on the left and the right are pretty simple. You see volume skewed to the selling at the top. The one in the middle, though, is kind of an anomaly here, and I think we've all been there. The opposite. Oops, you get the you buy the breakout that forgot to break out, and then these guys have a problem. You can see here there's net 1,600 contracts or whatever that we're buying at the top, and they're in trouble now. So they're going to be their wanting to get out is going to be resistance for any future rallies. And sure enough, you saw resistance. You saw they couldn't get past it. Larry, currently it's only on minute charts, but in second charts are possible, and it's just I wanted to kind of get the groundwork laid before I did it, but that's another thing I think it would be good I'll be adding soon. One of the things that you find with most of the order flow vendors you see on other platforms is that they see their product as kind of an all-in system. And I look at things a little differently. While you can do very well trading all the stuff on its own, I think its best use may well be to improve your existing techniques. And putting this thing together, the Insider Bars package was designed to work with other tools and not take over your platform, or obviously not require you to have a different platform like some of them do. My background is geometry, so my approach from this, with all this stuff from back in 2011 when it started, was making things that complemented my stuff. And so try combining it with your own favorite stuff, and I think you'll find that there's a lot of complementary ideas here. TW, how would you know that that's not shorts covering? You don't. It's some of it is. The reality is some of it is and some of it isn't. But after you watch this for a while, you'll find that when you see a pattern like that where some people were either they got stopped out when they didn't want to, or they bought when it turned out they were off base. Either way, it turns into resistance for future rallies. Coming soon. Insider Bars has been a crowdsourced project from the start. If you have suggestions for improvements, please email me. And likewise, if you have questions on particular markets or particular situations that you want to, you'd like covered in as an educational exercise, email me about that too, and I'll get back to you right away, and then I'll try to use your questions as as my guidepost to see what I prioritize in videos. John. Identify a pivot or overbought, oversold area. That's a good one for a video. I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, the thing that the thing that comes to my head, at the top of my head, is one of the things that I have found that I really like a lot is in a trading range, overbought, oversold kind of area is the value areas. If you think of it in terms of Elliott wave, you say you have a big rally, and then you have an A counter trend rally, and then the B wave rally. Those 70% value areas are darn good at a good place to sell for the next C wave down. I mean, that's when you look at it, I think the value areas are going to be a good place. But let me think about that some more, and I'll do a video on it. Ed, no, there's not really any way to do to align with the matrix. You know, what I would do instead of using the matrix is I would incorporate chart trading and combine Price Vol Pro, use Price Vol Pro for your volume histogram rather than using the matrix, and then use chart trading to place your orders right there on the chart. I'm not a big fan of. I've been a huge fan of chart trading from the beginning. I'm not a. It's way nice to not have to constantly be shifting your eyes from your chart to your matrix, etc. Thanks, TW. You know, happy as I'm old as the hills, and I've been around there a long time. So I'm glad to see some of it is getting some use. Larry, let me think about that. I have not done that honestly, since I used to use tick back in the old days before the tick sizes, stock tick sizes got smaller, and I have not used it much since then. I use advanced decline a lot, but I have not used tick so much. There's just it's just not as meaningful when it's a penny as it was when it was an eighth or a quarter. But let me give that some thought also. Mark, entry or exit of the value area. I'm not quite sure I'm following you. I mean, you can see on the Mark, if you, I mean, you can see on the individual bar what was going on, you know, at the value area line, but I'm not beyond that. I'm not quite following you. John, I don't know. One of these days I'm going to write a market geometry book, but I can't say there's anything that you know, looking back on just jumps out at me. Okay, Mark, that sounds like a good plan. Thanks, Larry. Yeah, Mark, I'm not quite with you. Email me and send me a picture or whatever, and we can chat about it. Okay, let me finish up here. As I said before, the next big addition is going to be at bid, at ask analysis, and it basically it's going to look the same as uptick, downtick mode, but right now TradeStation doesn't have data history, and so it will start working when you load it on the chart. But so I think a lot of people are going to like the old way better based on that. But you know, you can compare it and see which you like better. Now some here, and we talked about this before, some have expressed an interest in accessing insider bars and price vol pro data from other TradeStation applications. And if this is something you're interested in, please let me know. You know, what I'd like to do is kind of gauge degree of interest for you know, different topics, so I can see what to prioritize. And there's some more big surprises coming soon too. That's what I have for you today. Thanks everyone for coming, and I appreciate it, and thanks for the great questions. And if you have any more, we can continue on. Here's my contact info, my email and TradeStation forum, etc. If you want to take a screenshot or what have you. Thank you, Donald.
All right, Chris. Thank you so very much for your presentation this afternoon. It was very interesting, and thanks everyone for attending. We've gone over an hour now, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Everyone, if you missed something during the presentation, keep in mind that this presentation was recorded and will be available on the TradeStation website probably in the next couple of business days or so. So thanks again, Chris. Thanks again, everyone, for attending. I wish everybody a great evening, and join us again at another TradeStation event. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Fred.